There's something about the raw energy of this song, the loose, almost shabby way that it's recorded, but also the very beautiful lyrics that take my breath away. When I was compiling the Bob Dylan Complete, I was sent everything he'd ever written and recorded, and I listened to everything in chronological order, which took a long time and was quite the journey. But it wasn't until I got to 64 and Another Side to Bob Dylan, of which this is an outtake, and listened to this track for the first time, I didn't know it, that my jaw was on the floor. It really did just render me speechless. There are a few versions of this. This version that I'm going to cover is the outtake, as I say, from Another Side of Bob Dylan, recorded in 64 and released on volume 2 of the bootlegs. Volume 9 of the bootlegs contains the famous live duet that he did with Joan Baez that was beautifully reproduced recently on the A Complete Unknown film. If you haven't seen it, go see it, it's fabulous. But I'm going to focus on this version, and as I say, there are a few sort of glitches and it's very loose. The lyrics are not quite what are printed, as is often the case with Dylan. The official published lyrics don't always match what he sings, and the chord sequence that he has for the first bar is different from the chord sequence for the subsequent bars. I think if I were going to perform this live, I'd probably take the second verse as the template and try to apply lyrics from the other verses exactly to that. But let's have a look at the first verse first of all. We've got 4 beats in the bar. We're in the key of C with a capo on the 4th fret, and it's this kind of thing. Just pushing 4 beats. I'm just strumming across. He used a pick, I'm sure, but I'm just trying to catch the hand as it comes back up loosely to create some little up strums. Okay, now the intro is actually 3 bars of G, that kind of a thing. But what happens on this version, as I say, this is a bit nerdy now because I'm basing my arrangement exactly on what he did here. We get 3 beats in the first bar, and he aims for the bottom string, then he aims for the 5th string and lifts off whatever finger he's got there. For me it's my second finger, to hit the A and then put it back on, so we get bum bum bum. Okay, you do it your way, but that's what happens. So it's 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. Then we get 2 more bars of G and we're into the verse. Now this verse has 3 bars of C and 1 bar of E. In the other verses it's 2 bars of C and 2 bars of E, so it always feels like he gets to E a bit late. But perhaps it's the colour of the sun-cut flat. Okay, that's what happens there. Then we get 2 bars of A minor, and covering the crossroads we get D7 over F sharp. It's a straight D7. You could play it this way, 1st, 2nd and 3rd fingers as usual, with the thumb thrown over the 2nd fret of the bottom string. It's probably how he did it. I find it easier, I think, easy to find at least, to use my 1st finger, then my little finger up on the 2nd fret of the top string, then my 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and my 2nd finger comes down to the 6th string. But either way, and then we get 2 bars of that. Covering crossroads I'm standing at. Now in other versions of this song, we go straight on to maybe it's the weather or something. But actually in this version, maybe this is why it's an outtake, I don't know, he kind of treads water for a bar and a half. I've inserted that as a bar of 6/4, just because I want to count, where we have this D7 over F sharp, and it feels like he's just kind of can't remember what to do, or he's stuck at a crossroads or something. So we get this, going from the A minor. Covering crossroads I'm standing at, 1 2 3 4 5, or maybe, so the or comes on the 6th beat, 1 2 3 4 5 6, maybe it's the... And as I say, when he's doing this with Joni or other versions of this, we don't get that bar, so it feels like it's just a bit of a glitch. Anyway, we end this first verse. Maybe it's the weather, or bar of C, G over B for 2 beats, which is just G but with a 6th string missing. So we get this fall, like a passing bass note here, A minor for 2 beats, and G. In other verses, at this point, he does a kind of A minor over G to F, which I think is what he was aiming for. That's just me. But ignore that for now, because what happens in the first verse is, maybe it's the weather or something like that. Bar of G, bar of C, and we finish off 2 bars of G. But mama, you've been on my mind. 2 bars of C. And to get to the second verse, we get 2 bars of G. Okay. Now I'll play the whole of the first verse in a minute, including the intro. But before I do, let's just look at a thing that he does here, very typical of Dylan's playing at this point, on a chord of G. He does this. So we have G, then we add a note on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. I'm using my 1st finger for that because I play G this way without the 1st finger. I've got that free. Then I'm going to add my little finger up on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, which means it's no longer covering the top string, so I have to be careful not to include that. But that kind of a thing. You might have a different fingering and then you'll need to work out your own solutions. But that's what he does. So we can put that in at the end of the first verse to join us to the second verse, for instance. So here's the whole of the first verse plus the intro. Perhaps it's the colour of the sun cut flat and covering the crossroads I'm standing at. Or maybe it's the weather or something like that. But mama, you've been on my mind. And into the second verse. Now the second verse is more the template for the rest of the song. We get 2 bars of C and then 2 bars of E. I don't mean trouble, please don't put me down. I get upset, I am not. Now 2 bars of A minor. I am not pleading or saying I can forget you. And 2 bars of D7 over F sharp. But again here he hesitates. There's an extra 2 beats of the D7 over F sharp. So 8 bars and a bit for the first half. I don't mean trouble, please don't put me down. I'll get upset, I am not bleeding. I say I can't forget you. So there's the extra 2 beats. Now it's a bar of C, a bar of E. I do not pace the floor, bow down and bend, but yet. And here's that move down to F. A minor for 2. I'm going to bring my little finger over to play a G under that same chord. A minor over G. And then a bar of F. Mama, you've been on my mind. And we finish off with a bar of C, a bar of G, and then actually it's 4 bars of C after that as we get ready for the third verse. So the whole of the second verse. I don't mean trouble, please don't put me down. I get upset, I am not pleading or saying I can't forget you. I do not pace the floor, bow down and bend, but yet, mama, you've been on my mind. So it carries on very much like that into the other verses with some slight inconsistencies in the chord sequence and these little wobbles in timing. I think if I were going to cover this song, either recording it, performing it, maybe just doing an open mic, I'd want to nail down a chord sequence that was going to be the same for all the verses, because the lyrics could certainly stand that. It's just a simple 4-line stanza. I'd take the second verse as the template. I'd take out that extra couple of beats in the D over F sharp, maybe 1 or 2 other things. So let's look at that now. I'll do this with the second verse lyrics. I don't mean trouble, please don't put me down. I'll get upset, I am not pleading or say I can't forget you. I do not, and on like that. As we're in the A minor, just at the end of that second bar of A minor, I'm going to do this then, A minor over G, as we've seen before. That's going to take me onto the F sharp in the bass. That's really nice. And then 2 bars of this D7 over F sharp, of course, and just as written after that, a bar of C, E for a bar, and then our walk down. Just as written. I'd do that for the first verse too, but I'd probably also pick this, and I'd do this maybe in a Travis picking style. I'd also slow it down quite a lot. Have a listen, if you don't know it, to the Jeff Buckley version of this, which is just fantastic. And it does finally feel like a ballad, which is where it's really aching to be, I reckon. Okay. A Travis picking pattern, a bog standard pattern like this. On a C, I'm just going to use the middle 4 strings. My thumb is on the 5th string because that's the bass note. I've got my picking fingers, my 1st and 2nd fingers on the top 2 strings, by which I mean the 3rd string and the 2nd string, I should say. My thumb is going to pick that 5th string, and my 2nd finger is going to pick the 2nd string. Now the thumb's going to come up to the 4th string, and my 1st finger is going to pick the 3rd string. So there's my outside pair, 5th string, 2nd string, my inside pair, 4th string and 3rd string. And if you're up for it, you can add some alternating bass, moving my 3rd finger down to the 6th string on the 3rd fret to alternate with the standard bass note of the 3rd fret of the 5th string. That's the kind of thing I might do. Perhaps it's the colour of the sun, cut flat and covering. Crossroads I'm standing at, or maybe it's the weather, or something like that. Mama, you've been on my mind. Don't mean trouble, please don't put me down. Get upset, I am not bleeding. Say I can't forget you, I do not pace the floor, bow down and bend, but yet, Mama, you've been on